CNN is learning just moments ago that President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, will defy a congressional subpoena for documents. I want to get right to CNN Justice correspondent Evan Perez. Evan, what's the reasoning here from Giuliani's legal team?
Well, Jake, it's classic Giuliani bluster. He says that this is an unconstitutional basis, an illegitimate impeachment inquiry, and he says that the request for information from these three committees that are leading the inquiry was overbroad, that it goes into attorney-client privilege information, and essentially he's taking the protection that the White House has been offering, which is that they're not going to comply with any subpoena because they believe that what the Democrats are doing is illegitimate. Now, this letter was sent to the Congressional committees this afternoon by John Sale, who is Giuliani's now former attorney. Giuliani is telling us that he has parted ways with John Sale, not of this entire this inquiry, this part of the interaction with Congress is over in his view, but we're talking to people close to Rudy Giuliani, and they're advising him that he needs a real lawyer. He needs an attorney who's going to handle this investigation that is ramping up at the Southern District of New York in Manhattan, because there's some real legal problems that he faces as a result of this investigation, Jake. We're told that at this point Giuliani says that he doesn't really see the need for an attorney. He believes that he is protected because all the work he was doing, he says, in Ukraine was done at the behest of the president. Jake?
Interesting legal argument. Evan Perez, thanks so much. There have been a number of major developments in the House impeachment inquiry into President Trump over just the last 24 hours. CNN just confirmed that the Office of Management and Budget also does not plan to comply with the congressional subpoena. That deadline was today, and this is just hours after President Trump's longtime advisor on Russia, Fiona Hill, testified behind closed doors at Congress. President Trump's national security advisor at the time, John Bolton, viewed Rudy Giuliani as a, quote, hand grenade who was going to, quote, blow everybody up. CNN's Alex Marquardt joins me now live. Alex.
Yeah, Jake, we just got word from the OMB that they do not plan to hand over those documents. They're saying that they view this impeachment inquiry as constitutionally illegitimate, and it's unclear right now whether the OMB has actually sent any notice officially to the impeachment committees. Now, Jake, we should also note that those committees were expecting or had requested documents from both the Pentagon and the Vice President Mike Pence's office. They have so far, we understand, not received those documents. Now, Jake, as you mentioned, this comes in the wake of this explosive testimony from Fiona Hill, the former top White House advisor on Russia, who said that she was so disturbed by Giuliani's efforts in Ukraine that she went to a top White House national security lawyer.
It is explosive testimony that shows the president's most senior foreign policy advisors were against what they felt was a rogue drug deal type operation in Ukraine. That operation led by Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer. This, according to multiple senior officials, the whistleblower, and hours of testimony from multiple witnesses in front of three House committees. Fiona Hill, the White House's former top expert on Russia, telling lawmakers Monday that former National Security Advisor John Bolton called Giuliani a hand grenade who, according to a source, is going to blow everybody up. Giuliani's operation bothered Hill and Bolton so much that Bolton told her to speak with a White House lawyer. A source telling CNN she saw wrongdoing related to the Ukraine policy and reported it.
The Intelligence and Oversight and Foreign Affairs committees are gathering a far more detailed and fine-grained portrait of everything that was taking place in Ukraine with Giuliani and with, his henchmen.
Giuliani, with the help of two men who have now been indicted on conspiracy and campaign finance violations, has been widely accused of running a shadow diplomacy operation in Ukraine, even pressuring President Trump to recall his ambassador to Ukraine, who is known for her anti-corruption work. Lawmakers are hearing today that these concerns over Giuliani's work to get the ambassador recalled go back to at least March, when top State Department official George Kent, who oversees overseas Ukraine came to the ambassador's defense over the conspiracies that were being pushed. Before the July 25th phone call between President Trump and the Ukrainian president, when Trump asked for a favor, that President Zelensky work with Giuliani and help investigate the Bidens.
The ask that Mr. Giuliani is making to the Ukraine government is to basically put a political hit on Mr. Trump's main opponent, Joe Biden, to help him in the upcoming 2020 election. You cannot do that.
Now, what prompted Fiona Hill specifically to go to the White House lawyer at Bolton's suggestion was a meeting on July 10th in which the ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, who was one of the president's top envoys to Ukraine, talked about investigations. Hill understood that to mean investigations into the Bidens, and Hill told lawmakers that these dueling Ukraine policies made for a corruption inside the United States. Jake.
All right, Alex Marco, thanks so much. Let's talk about this with our experts. Abby, let me start with you. So Giuliani and the Office of Management and Budget both saying they're not going to comply with congressional subpoenas. So obviously the Trump strategy is just complete and utter stonewall.
It has been, but it doesn't seem that it's been a strategy that's been successful so far, because Giuliani really, at this point, is the only one so far that has been willing to defy a congressional subpoena. Now, Congress has somewhat limited options. They could try to carry this out in the court system, which they've indicated that they're unwilling to do because of how much time it would take. It might just be rolled into articles of impeachment, but the damage for the White House is already done. Giuliani might try to stall in this way. He might try to defy Congress, but with the other individuals testifying about this subject matter, it really puts him in a box, and he's very lonely right now in doing what he's doing, following and carrying out the White House's orders on this.
And, it's interesting, Maeve, if you go back and look at what Republicans said about the oversight responsibilities of Congress when they were conducting oversight of Obama or Bill Clinton, they sounded quite different than they sound today when it's oversight by Democrats over a Republican president. Here's Rudy Giuliani back in 1998 talking about presidents and subpoenas. This is during the Clinton impeachment. Take a listen.
All the Watergate litigation resolved the fact that the president is not above the law, is not able to avoid subpoenas.
But now Rudy Giuliani is trying to avoid a subpoena, and he's not even the president.
Yeah, it seems the times have changed. There's going to be so many gems like that, I think, certainly because Giuliani was such a public face through all of that. And I think it's going to be very hard for him as more and more information emerges about his role in this and the way in which the president leaned on him to just sort of withdraw and try to hide behind the screen of lawyers that he's bringing on to defend him.
I mean, just a week ago, Giuliani was threatening to go into the Senate and testify about Joe Biden. How times have changed. It's only been a week, and it shows that the pressure is really on. These revelations are really significant.
And Carrie, let me bring you in. You work for the Justice Department. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that federal prosecutors are examining Rudy Giuliani's business dealings in Ukraine. Sources telling CNN that associates of Giuliani are encouraging to hire a personal lawyer. What theoretically could he be charged with criminally?
Well, what I thought was interesting about that Wall Street Journal report is it described 10 years of work that he's done possibly in Ukraine. And so I think there's a potential avenue of financial crimes that we might be looking at. The individuals that he's associated with who were charged with campaign finance violations and conspiracy. So there's a possibility that he could be linked into that part of the investigation, but there also is a possibility that given just 10 years of these overseas business dealings, that there is some other financial aspect. Because remember, when his associates were arrested, it was done prematurely so that they didn't leave the United States. And so it's an ongoing investigation, and there may be other aspects of it, particularly on the financial side, that could potentially implicate him.
Phil, let me bring you in. When you look at everything that was laid out in Alex's piece, clearly there was a lot of concern well before that July 25th call with the president of Ukraine about the president's approach to Ukraine.
I agree, but I think we're still missing the key piece of the puzzle. We knew from when the transcript of the phone call was released that the president did something inappropriate. That is, encourage a foreign government to collect information information about a political rival, and the president admitted that. He later said publicly, encouraging the Chinese to do the same thing. And we've heard in the past day or two that officials said they were concerned about that. We're still missing what I think is the key piece of the puzzle. That is, people who will come up and testify about whether that was directly linked to releasing money to Ukraine. There's just people confirming the president did something completely inappropriate politically and in foreign policy. He did. Where's the money? That's what I want to know. This is money, lies, and videotape. We want the money. We've heard the lies, and we've seen people on tape already. Where's the money?